It was a crazy weekend in Vegas. The unbanning of swings, tiny homes approved for the city, and we're painting rocks. All of that coming up right now on your Monday solo show edition of MTM Vegas. So happy Monday, MTM Vegas peeps. It was a crazy weekend. Bruno Mars Day happened on Friday, as we've talked about on the show. I think we've talked way too much about Bruno Mars, but his fandom is immense. Thousands of people showed up to Toshiba Plaza to celebrate him, and he showed up there as well after days and days of hype and lead up and temporary pop-ups all over the place for his romantic tour, which also came into town at Allegiant Stadium this weekend for its first two shows. And it seemed like it was incredible. My wife went there. Here's some videos. I heard it was a great time had by all, but this is a reminder that Bruno Mars attaching himself to Vegas, probably not a bad idea. Look at his tour dates. I saw Mark Meltzer point this out. He's filling up giant arenas. In many cities, he's doing 4 or 5 shows in the same arena. Huge fandom across the world and the country, and he kicked it all off here in Las Vegas with Bruno Mars Day and everything else that happened. But something else big happened this weekend. The Frozen 4 happened over at T-Mobile Arena, and in case you don't know what that is, it's sort of the Final Four of college hockey, similar to the basketball Final Four, which we hosted a few years ago. And one of the big, trends we've talked about is sports and sports events, destination type events coming to Las Vegas. And this is another one of them, maybe one that's not as well known, but all of the indications were that it went over very successfully. The NCAA was incredibly happy with how the event went, and LV Sports Biz has some great photos from all around the event, tons of photos if you're interested in that. Denver beat Wisconsin 2-1 to win the championship, and it's interesting to see schools like Denver. Hockey, there's different schools than you would see in football, basketball, sometimes smaller schools, but another huge event for Las Vegas in the sports realm. And when could we get this again? It seems like they may want to put Las Vegas in the rotation. 2029 is the next open year where you could potentially see the Frozen 4 return to Las Vegas. Are you a big college hockey fan? Are you happy to see the Frozen 4 make its way to Vegas? What about Bruno Mars Day? Did you go down there? Let me know what it was like for you. Hopefully you didn't buy any of that insane merch. Those prices were nuts, but everything else looked great. Another fantastic weekend, great weather in Las Vegas. You can't ask for anything more. But let's move out to Boulder City for a second. And, when Las Vegas and Boulder City were developing, there wasn't an interstate highway. There was no US 95 in its freeway type of form. And Boulder Highway was the place that connected Fremont Street over to Boulder City. And both of those places had very interesting motel cultures. We see a lot of those on East Fremont, many of them torn down. Tony Hsieh with the Downtown Project tried to save many of them, but some of them haven't been preserved and they've sort of been let go. Well, Boulder City also has a collection of very historic motels, a lot of which are still going strong, and they're incredible looking properties. Another reason to go out to Boulder City. But now they're looking to set up maybe a historic motel district. The oldest running motel in Boulder City is the Nevada Inn from 1932. But there's also 7 others, with the most recent built in 1962, and they're considering putting these into a district that would give them benefits and perhaps require them to do some more upkeep and stuff like that. But they are talking about how this will help all of the properties there. And as a reminder, a few years ago, when the Boulder City bypass was built, the extension I-11, all of that sort of stuff, fewer people now than ever drive through Boulder City. And so they're trying to find ways to attract more people into their city and into their businesses. And it's incredible. The downtown there, very walkable, tons of great restaurants, really cool architecture. You also have Hemingway Park with the bighorn sheep, views of the lake. It's a really incredible town, and no gambling at all. So super unique for Nevada, the only city in Nevada without gambling, and soon to have a historic motel district. I'm all for this because we should preserve these buildings. And, it's okay to get some cool stuff that's outside Las Vegas. And maybe this will get more people to visit Boulder City. Have you been there? Let me know down in the comments. I promise we'll jump back to Las Vegas soon, but I saw this article in the Nevada Independent about a ban on swings in Washoe County. And like 27 years ago, they passed this ban on swings in schools, basically saying that they're not going to have swings on school playgrounds, but they didn't remove any swings as part of that. And they just didn't build new ones. And when they renovated properties, they didn't have swings on them. And it just seems like all these years later, it really hasn't made much of a dent. First off, 82% of schools still have them. Now they're trying to repeal the ban on swings, and one of the council members up there, and they're going to vote on this later this month, didn't even discover there was a ban, didn't even know there was a ban until she was reviewing a renovation project and saw that there was no swings for the kids. We all talk about how the playgrounds were when we were kids and the metal slides and the wooden stuff, and you get splinters and all of that. And they were kind of dangerous. And then we sort of homogenized them a little bit. And I think that we're coming back to a place where we're allowing a little bit more danger in our playgrounds, but I don't know. It's a part of childhood. Swings everywhere. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Is this time to repeal the ban on swings? Let the kids swing? In a second, I'm going to talk about a very exciting potential construction project coming to a major strip casino. But before I do that, I would love to invite you to subscribe. We're just a few hundred subscribers away from 60,000. Help us get there soon. Thanks in advance. We're going to talk Aria and some potential giant renovations coming there in a second, but let's start with Sunset Station's bathrooms. I've talked about all the renovations going on there. I think I've even mentioned the bathrooms before, but I haven't filmed in there. And these are like European style bathrooms that they put into Sunset Station. And I think this video gives you a good example of some of the cool stuff they're doing over there. Still a lot going on. The Gaudi bar is still under renovations, but these floor to ceiling or almost floor to ceiling stalls, these are a good thing. Now they upped the game at Green Valley Ranch and they put in full floor to ceiling stalls. So maybe this is the future of Vegas casinos. Do you like the casinos that have a little more privacy in the bathroom? Is that, casino bathrooms, man, what wild places they can be. It depends on the casino, but you can see all kinds of crazy stuff in there. And I have for sure. And therefore, I kind of just like going into my private zone, kind of pretending that the rest of it doesn't exist. And this allows for that. I would love to hear what you guys think about it. But these pictures came from Aria this week of them cordoning off a large area of their casino and removing some machines. And it seems like, based on the comments in that thread, now, first off, this is going to be the tournament area for upcoming poker tournament. So that will be the case. But it seems like before that, they're going to do some new paint and carpet. That is what the tweets seem to indicate. And I think it's about time Aria got some carpet. Are they going to lighten up this casino? We've seen this trend of lighter all over the space, whether it's hotel rooms, design, all of that sort of stuff. And I feel like Aria's casino still is a throwback to when it opened, and it has a much darker sort of design scheme. We know that the Aria room renovations are around the corner, and we don't really know a lot about what they're planning to do with the wider property. Are they going to do big renovations here, just change out the carpet? We really don't know. We do know that in the last few years, they've added new carpet at most of their properties. I mean, they have a lot to compete with. If you look at Palazzo's new carpet, kind of comparing levels of property, I think Palazzo's is really sexy, some very vibrant, bright colors, interesting designs, themes. I feel like Vegas has stepped up its carpet game in the last few years, and it'll really be interesting to see what Aria has in store. But maybe this is the beginning of the wider property renovations that MGM Resorts teases every earnings call. Let's hope it is. What do you want to see? Do you want to see something classy like we see at Palazzo? Now, Palazzo is interesting because they just went with a similar blue color, but a new design. What do we do here? I mean, it's just so dark in there. I think anything that you do to brighten it up, you have to do more sort of renovations to make it all work together. Or do you go with just a more modern design that fits within the existing casino aesthetic? I do really like Aria's casino. I have always liked it, but I don't know that when you walk in there, it feels like it's the most modern casino. It's up to modern tastes. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about that. So tiny homes, let's talk tiny homes. It's an interesting sort of topic. They're spreading all over the place. Live with less, smaller spaces, cheaper rents too. And some controversy, right? Because they take these homes, put them on tiny plots of land. It changes the neighborhood. It changes a lot of aspects. And this tiny home community just got approved in East Las Vegas, despite being recommended for denial by the Planning Commission. And Mayor Shelley Berkeley very excited about this. 2.25 acres of land. Guess in your head, how many homes could you put on 2.25 acres of land? If you guess 50, that is the correct number. Now, they have some renders here, and here you can see actually what this product looks like before they gussy it up, and then after. It looks like they've added a roof, which gives you some covered patio space, and it looks all good. I mean, I think it looks very attractive, actually, from the outside. It's made of fire, mold, water-resistant materials, they say. It's more energy efficient, so you don't need a huge air conditioning unit. All of your utilities will be included if you rent one of these tiny homes, but 50 tiny homes on 2.25 acres, including parking, everything else. And here's the floor plan. This is my question. Where do you actually live in this? Now, I know it's flex space, so probably where that office is where you're going to have your bedroom space, I guess. It's just weird that you would have a floor plan without the bedroom. Like, seems like that's the most important thing. So I can't really envision this. I don't see any renders of the inside. But the second thing I would love for you to guess, how much does this cost? How much is the rent every single month for this 360 square foot unit, one of 50 tiny homes in East Las Vegas? Not the best neighborhood in the world either. So here we go. What do you have? You're guessing $600, $800 a month, $1,000 a month, including your utilities for this. Man, I mean, what does the world come to? I actually don't have an issue with these at all. I think it's a good idea to have them, but $1,000 a month seems pretty significant. Although I am not an expert on rents currently, I feel like that seems high to me. That will include your power. That will include other stuff. So you're all in there, get your own space. There's a little deck outside. Do you think this is a crazy sort of thing? $1,000 a month for one of these tiny homes in East Las Vegas? Are we going to see more of these? What if they built one of these in a nicer area of town? Are we talking $1,500 a month? It seems like a lot, but I mean, it's also tempting to just go buy a couple acres of land, isn't it? I mean, these are prefab units. Make some changes to them, rent them out. 50 of them on 2.25 acres. That's a lot of homes. But let's close with this on this Monday. Seven Magic Mountains, the famous now art installation out in the middle of the desert outside Las Vegas. Remember, what is it, a year or two ago, they were talking about moving it up to Reno to an art museum. And thankfully, that whole plan has been scrapped. Everybody said they belong out in the desert. And indeed they do. But one thing that happens in the desert is they get beat to hell by the sun. And this week, all throughout next week, they are painting just 6 of the boulders, the brightest colored ones, I guess. Now, they've been doing this for years, ongoing maintenance. It does fade and they do paint it. But I think this is a good idea. Just to remind you, in a couple weeks, go out there. You're going to have the freshest view of what's going on. It's interesting. They do this while it's still open, obviously, to the public. So they just do section by section. So if you go out in the next week or 10 days, you may see construction crews out there painting. Long live the 7 Magic Mountains of Southern Nevada. If you just are watching this and you've never heard of it, it just looks like a bunch of stacked boulders out in the middle of the desert. But I promise there's something to it. When you get there, it is cool. It's neat. I've talked to many people. Their reactions are the same. I've never really talked to anybody who said that that was dumb. And it kind of sounds dumb, right? It's just stacked boulders out in the middle of the desert. But when you kind of approach it from the art perspective, it's a cool thing being out there. And if you can go out there at sunrise, that is my recommendation. It's peaceful. There's nobody out there. You got the mountains. You got the desert. They're going to be bright as ever. And a good news for Southern Nevada. We got to keep our 7 Magic Mountains. And that's going to do it for this quick Monday show. We are going to be back on Wednesday and Friday with full shows, lots of news, but I'd love to know what you guys think about everything we talked about today. Bruno Mars Day, are you happy that it's over? Did you go to his concert, his tour? Obviously, hockey in Vegas, tiny homes, the ban on swings, everything we talked about today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Talk to you next time. Have a great week.